Hello, Rooted Bible Study Method students. This is Jamie, and I'm recording the week 6 walkthrough for our class. This is the course, and we've been looking at Relational Bible Study week 1. We looked at Heart Bible Study week 2. Weeks 3 and 4, we looked at the Basic Bible Study. Last week, week 5, we looked at Word Studies. Greek and Hebrew word studies. And then today we're looking at 2 more studies, character, so Bible characters, and then topic studies with Jesus. And the reason I'm combining these 2, character studies or biblical persons and topics, is because the order of study and the method and the steps are basically the same, whether you're doing a character study or a topic study. And so I just want to walk through a couple of steps here on actually doing character studies. Let's begin. We're going to go back to our layout. Remember the layout icon over here. I'm going to click on my saved layout that I've been using. This one is Jamie's Study Bible layout. We've got this pulled up here. And just as a note, as a reminder, I have my Bible here. I have a cross-reference Bible for hyperlinks and cross-references that I look up. For our purposes today, we're going to pretend that we're studying Acts chapter 15, verses 36 to 41. So I'm pretending, I'm studying Paul and Barnabas. I come across this passage here. It says, and after some days, Paul said to Barnabas, let us return and visit the brothers in every city where we proclaim the word of the Lord and see how they are. Now, Barnabas wanted to take with them John, called Mark, but Paul thought best not to take on with them to work. And there arose a sharp disagreement. Tense. So they separated from each other. So Paul and Barnabas separated from each other. Barnabas took Mark with him and sailed away to Cyprus, but Paul chose Silas and departed, having been commended by the brothers to the grace of the Lord. And he went through Syria and Cilicia, strengthening the churches. Now, you may look here and be like, whew, okay, Paul and Barnabas, they have a sharp disagreement, some tough stuff. You can see over here in the study Bible, as Paul's second missionary journey begins, he and Barnabas disagree on whether to keep John Mark with them. So that's kind of the summary of what we just read. Now, let's say that I wanted to do a character study, and I want to study the person of Barnabas. Let's say I want to study Barnabas as a person. Number of ways I can do this. I can click on the name of Barnabas, and I can do a two clicks, or right click, or 2-finger down, and I can come over to Barnabas the person, and I can do a number of things. I could do a fact book search, which is the first thing I'm going to try here. Remember, left side is data points on the word or the passage that I'm looking at. There's the Greek word for Barnabas. There's the person Barnabas. And on the right is what you can do based off of the selection that you've made. So I'm selecting all of these things. I could even do something with the actual passage itself. But I got the person Barnabas. I can do a fact book search. I'm going to click on that. This opens a fact book to the person Barnabas. Now, I could have also gone over to the fact book icon, clicked on it, and then typed in Barnabas, but this is a little bit of a faster way. Another thing that I could do is I could 2-finger click or right click Barnabas and make sure Barnabas, the person, is selected. I could also see this search area. I could actually do a Bible search. Searching all the occurrences ESV of the person Barnabas. And what's super fun about this is there are 182 times that Barnabas is referenced in 74 verses. But you'll notice some of these are references to Barnabas with pronouns. This is when he came and saw the grace of God, he was glad, and he exhorted them all to remain faithful to the Lord with steadfast purpose. The name Barnabas is not in this, but he is in the pronouns here. And he is the subject of the verb to exhort. So this is really, really helpful because Logos is smarter than the average bear. Barnabas, regardless of what name is being used or whether it's a pronoun or just a verb without Barnabas's name. This gives you every time Barnabas is referenced in the scriptures. Unbelievably helpful resource. So for our purposes, I'm going to take off that search. We're going to look at the actual fact book for the person Barnabas. And because this is really the best place to go when you're going to do a study, is to choose a person, Barnabas. We've entered that into the fact book. And I want to show you a couple of things that we have here. We have a small descriptor here. He's a Levite, an apostle. There's a key article. I want you to ignore the key article for right now. I want you to look at the key passages. What this section is doing is basically identifying Barnabas and just giving key, main, big idea passages on this person. The very first thing I'm going to do before I look at a dictionary article is I'm just going to look at the key passages and just kind of get a feel for my person, Barnabas. Now I would be working through each of these. I click on it, go to cross-reference, and read it. Just making my way through. There's usually, in this case, there's only 6. Usually there's maybe as many as a dozen, and that wouldn't take very long to read. But this just gives you an idea of what's going on. Like, for instance, this first apostles, Barnabas. So now, immediately I'm seeing that Barnabas actually is a nickname. He was called by the apostles Barnabas. That was a nickname that was given to him. The nickname means son of encouragement, but his actual name is Joseph. That's something interesting right off the bat in the very first passage. He's a Levite. Okay, so from the tribe of Levi. He's from the island of Cyprus. Interestingly, in this passage, it says that he sold a field that belonged to him and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. That reminds me, the first time we see Barnabas, I think this is one of the first times we see him, is actually in the context of Ananias and Sapphira, who were actually put to death because they lied to the Lord about actually shows up in the Ananias and Sapphira. He sold his field first, and I guess they were trying to copy him or have some sort of status thing being associated with Barnabas. So they were actually put to death for that. So interesting. Okay, I would just be working my way through the key passages. One thing you can see, there's an open 6 passages in the ESV. If I click this, it will open my cross-reference Bible, and it filters my Bible. So all that's here are just those key passages. It takes my Bible and filters them, so it's only these key passages show up, which is kind of cool. If I want to remove the filter, I can simply do that, remove filter. Okay, so key passages, I would study. Then I want to look at the referred to as section. This is a really interesting section. It's here's a Greek section and then a translated as section in the referred to as part of this fact book. First thing is the Greek section. So this is giving me all the Greek words that are used to refer to Barnabas. And the reason I pay attention to this is because I want to see how is Barnabas talked about? What are the words that are used? So obviously his name, Barnabas, 27 times. Here's something interesting. He's actually referred to as an apostle. So that's something helpful to be aware of as you're thinking through who Barnabas is. He's an apostle. When the apostles, Barnabas and Paul, heard of it, they tore their garments and rushed out into the crowd. He's also a beloved one. See, I'm getting a feel for the character I'm studying by the words that the Bible uses. He's a brother, he's a man, and also Joseph. We saw that earlier. Actually, his name is Joseph. Barnabas is actually his nickname. And he's called Joseph only one time. The rest of the time he's used his nickname name, Barnabas. Then I'm going to look at the the sides of a verb. I mentioned earlier about he exhorted them. So the name Barnabas is not in the text, but he's the subject of this verb to exhort. Again, he was a good man, full of the Holy, that I would want to look at that. He was a good man, full of the Holy Spirit and faith. Okay, so just taking a look at the referred to as, just to study and begin thinking about this person. What are the words that the Bible uses to talk about the person that I'm studying? Then I want you to look at dictionaries. Now, you know where you start looking at dictionaries. So you've got this dictionary section, right? Go back up article, which is probably going to be a dictionary as well. You can click on this dictionary entry, and now you've got a full entry on Barnabas, the apostle, and you can make your way through that. The reason I encourage you to wait on that is sometimes it's kind of a crutch. We just jump straight to a dictionary without just doing some thinking on our own. So I try to ignore that key article. If I'm really going to do some study on somebody, I want to look at the key passages. I want to look at the referred to as and translated as. Then I want to look at dictionary. Also, frankly, if the person is not too intense, I also want to look at all the references. Again, I could right click on Barnabas, go to person, do a search, a Bible search, and now I'm looking at every occurrence of Barnabas. Okay. I might go to that. This will be interesting. The first occurrence of Barnabas is at Acts chapter 4. Date it, and then start talking about Barnabas in the Bible. And then begin working through and just summarizing what I've learned about him. How does he relate to the Lord? How does he relate to others? What's he called? How does the Bible talk about that out? Now, I would do the same thing with a topic. So it's basically the same concept. Fact book. I would go back to fact book, and let's say that I wanted to study the topic of fear. So I type in fear. Again, if remember, you start typing, and if you wait a little bit, you actually see all kinds of options. But I'm going to actually click on fear itself. Run the fact book report. And here we go. Fear. Here's a fact book report on fear, an emotional response to perceived threats or danger characterized by a sense of unease, apprehension, or anxiety. So remember, I've got the key article. I'm going to hold off on the key article. I'm going to go first to the key passages. So you'll notice here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 key passages that Logos is suggesting to me. Also, because this is such a big topic, you see all of these passages that have been titled, all of these passages have been tagged with the theme or the concept of fear. Joel 2, 1 to 11, the day of the Lord, the fearful day of the Lord, shows up in Acts chapter 2 as well, which we've been studying. Other passages, all of these passages tied to fear. That's 247 passages. Again, that's a challenge to study through that. So I recommend going first and just looking over the key passages, studying through these. You see immediately Genesis chapter 3. First time fear even enters the Bible, and it's even referenced is when Adam and Eve, they were afraid of God. Why? Because they were naked and they hid after rebelling against the Lord and eating the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. The spies who were afraid and led the others to have fear, while Caleb and Joshua had confidence. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, Proverbs 1:7. So I'll just be looking over the key passages and beginning to formulate in my mind how does the Bible talk about the theme of fear? So key passages. You might want to pick up some of these, especially if you're studying in Genesis. I might be looking at all the Genesis references or the Pentateuch references. I'll be looking through all of these Genesis ones just to get a feel. If I'm studying here in Genesis 3, how's the rest of the verses in Genesis, or maybe even the Pentateuch, talk about fear? We talked about that a little bit with concentric circles of study and word studies, just to make it a little bit more manageable. This section on biblical senses, these are ways that words surrounding fear are used in different ways. You can see as a verb to be afraid or feel anxious or apprehensive about a situation or event. To fear as reverence, that's a different sense of the idea of being afraid. This is to regard with feelings of respect and reverence, consider hallowed or exalted, or be in awe of. So I'd be kind of taking a look at the biblical senses to try to get a feel for how fear is discussed. Then I want to be looking at dictionaries. You know I'm in love with the Dictionary of Biblical Imagery. This is an entire article on fear, the causes of fear, physical results of fear, biblical characters who fear. They're looking up at the key article up at the beginning and doing that. So that's, and then at the end, the seventh step is to ask for applications. I'll be asking the Lord, Abba, what do you want me to know about this? What do you want me to to adjust. How do you want me to respond as I've been doing this study on fear or doing this study on Barnabas? I'll be asking the Lord, what do you want to say to me about this character or this topic? Some of the things that I want to show you, you can also, let's say you're not in a Bible verse, you just open up a fact book. Let's say all of this is closed down. And let's just say, oh, I want to study, I just want to study a topic. You can actually click the fact book, open it up. And let's say you were, we've been studying the Holy Spirit through our Acts study. So let's say I type in Holy Spirit, and rather than hit return, I just want you to notice a couple of things. I can study the character of God, the Holy Spirit, which is interesting. That would be an interesting fact book. But also notice these three squares here. These refer to systematic theology topics. Now I see this topic. What an interesting topic. The Holy Spirit and salvation. That's a topic. I want to click on this. Again, I'm using the fact book as a launching pad. And now I'm doing some systematic theology work. The doctrine of the Holy Spirit and salvation describes the redemption accomplished by Jesus Christ as it is applied concretely to God's people through the transforming and empowering work of the Holy Spirit. So again, I might just start to look at some key passages. There's 3 key passages on this topic of the Holy Spirit and salvation. What's the role of the Spirit? Here's some systematic theologies that I could look at. But I want to show you this key article. Super helpful. This is from the Lexham Survey of Theology. You looked at this in your homework last week. I want to show you this resource. It is a bite-sized, or it's more than bite-sized. Look at the contents. This is basically good old-fashioned systematic theology. All of these topics, the existence of God, the divine names, God's attributes, the Trinity itself. The section that we were on was the Holy Spirit and salvation. This is a brief article on this topic, the doctrine of the Holy Spirit. Again, there are some key verses for you to study. I just want you to see this is an amazing resource for us to begin to think theologically about our study and to study theologically. So wanted you to be aware of that. So we've got the Survey of Theology. And then last thing I want to show you is the fact book will help you do all this study, but actually Logos has given sort of a guided help thing called workflows. I'm going to show these to you. You go over the guides and workflows area. You can actually click on a biblical topic study. What this is Logos is going to create a workflow and a study guide that walks you through the process that I just walked you through, but in a more kind of helpful way. If I click on this, and let's say I wanted to, I think I put in here Solomon. Actually, I want to study wisdom. Let's say I put wisdom as a topic. I just click on this. Rather than using the fact book, this workflow is going to guide me through the process of studying the topic. So it gives you a little explanation of what you're doing. You can continue, check off that little section. And here's section 1.1. I'm going to explore dictionary entries on your topic. And you can actually go through and you can click on any of these dictionary entries. Remember the Dictionary of Bible Themes that we looked at a couple of weeks ago. All these fact book entries, anything that's highlighted, if you click on it, it will open up a fact book entry on there. And basically what this is it's just walking you through the process of what I was just walking you through, but as a workflow. And if you type anything here, it will actually create a note for you. So it's kind of a really, really helpful way to get a feel for how to do a study. I do a Bible study or new to a character study or a topic study. This is giving you kind of a step-by-step how to do it. So if you get stuck and you're wanting to get a little bit of help, like let's say like, oh, I want some help on doing a inductive Bible study. You could actually open up a workflow. You could put a Bible passage in like Acts 1, the stuff we've been studying, and actually do an inductive Bible study, and it will walk you through all the steps. So I just wanted you to be aware of that in the week 6 walkthrough. Okay, so I think that's basically it. I've enjoyed this class. If you have any questions or anything, please reach out to me. But I love you guys, and I'm praying for you that you will continue to fall in love with the Lord and studying and pursuing Jesus in his word. Love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.